put myself in the best possible situation. Where could I be? Okay, there I am. How do I get there? And then you start putting together those rational steps. And even if they're not rational, I'm just trying it.
Hello everybody and welcome back to MentorZ. Today we have on Chad Carrodus. Chad is commonly known as the Teen Tech Millionaire. He's the co-founder, founder, CEO of many different successful businesses. And he got his start through founding his own charity and the private aviation industry. In this episode we talk about, taking advantage of our youth and doing it now because we don't have any responsibilities. Then we go into, what success is, dreaming big, and the whole time throughout all the ups, all the downs, all the people, is staying you and sticking to that morality. This was a really fun episode to record, and I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you guys do too. Hello everybody, and welcome back to MentorZ. Today we have on Chad Carrodus. Chad, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me, Ava. I'm a little starstruck of being on your podcast.
Well, I thank you for the compliment. The first place I wanted to start was, with everything you're doing right now, because I know you're an extremely busy person. So, can you break it down?
Yes. So kind of right now, what's been my primary focus is I co-founded an app called GoWithMe. And GoWithMe, it's an event-based social platform that helps you do things you love with people you like safely. So it's basically, in other words, it's a different way to find things, because we had things like Tinder and Bumble and things like that. But we kept seeing frequently that there was a lot of disconnect. First of all, when it came into expectations, because some people use them, believe it or not, some people do use Tinder or Bumble just to find friends. So that, as you could tell, leads to some disappointment from both parties. And also the fact that there's tremendous safety, issues within a lot of these different dating apps. So kind of what happens, we figured out, how can we fix the solution? So what we came up with is an app that has in-app video. So basically what you do is you go on the app and say, in a video, so you're not being catfished or anything like that. Say, hey, my name's Chad. I have 2 tickets to a football game, and I'm looking for, a female or male for, romance or friendship, or, and just fill out all the details very specifically, because it'll, prompt all those things. And then that way, we kind of connect people when, we have a variety of different features. So yes, that was the long abouts of what I'm doing. But
yeah. No, you can go as much detail as you like, because honestly, you're giving me the information too. I'm not going to lie, for some of these things. But I know for a fact that you have one heck of a story to how you got to be the co-founder and how you got to be the founder of a lot of things, or the CEO of a lot of things. Can you go into that, your whole origin story?
Yeah, so as you know, like yourself, I am a young entrepreneur, which kind of definitely seems to be the hot buzzword these days. But it is something that has stuck with me, for my whole life, which to a lot of people is very relative, because my whole life is the span of their, half of their career. But being 20 years old, I definitely feel that I've been able to see a lot of different things and have a lot of different perspective, of a variety of situations, and kind of how that had started. And I had always said, just disclaimer, unfortunately, not from the Lucky Sperm Club. I'm not some super genius at all. So, no more connected or no more smarter than the next guy at all. I'm just that, and just, hungry, like a lot of young entrepreneurs are. So kind of how that came to fruition is back, when the economy really hit the fan in 2006, 7, 8, 2006 was good, but 7, 8, 9, and so forth. I was about 11, 12, 13 years old, and my dad was in the steel industry. He had, he started a company, he did well, but after, as things progressed, the economy, it took a really big toll, and it really took a dramatic impact on kind of the way that, we lived. And, they think these things that I took for granted for a long time, I realized these were actually luxuries. But then, the part of me was like, wow, those luxuries were nice to have. It's the fact that they're luxuries, but I also realized they're not easy to come across. You really have to grind and go out and get them. So I really just started doing everything, because like I said, our life got flipped upside down. And being, 12, 13 years old, if there's a problem, I like to find a solution. And my solution to that was, okay, let's go out, let's make a little bit of money, and I would do literally everything. And I'm talking, I'd buy, shattered iPhones from, the 7th grade hall, from people in 7th grade, in the hallway, and give them $40 for their broken iPhone, flip it on eBay and sell it for, $200 because for some reason people would buy it for parts.
Wow.
And I started realizing, wow, there's a trend in this whole business thing, in the fact that I can give someone, because it was a win-win situation. If I had $40, that I'd gotten from babysitting or mowing lawns or whatever, then I could give cash to a 7th grader who just had this broken phone that they weren't going to do anything with because it was shattered and they had already gotten a new one. But if I can give them $40 for something that they weren't expecting anything for, and then, so they were happy, and then I can go around and make money without fixing it or really doing anything, just identifying a different market and, taking a gap there. It was a win-win-win for all parties. So I kind of applied that principle to a lot of different things. And, I really got into just the online commerce aspect of things, kind of starting with like the eBay and the Craigslist. And, I would just go around to, friends and things like, or family friends and things like that. And just people that I knew, and I would post flyers and posters and, but I would do my next little venture, because I wasn't, I guess, an official entrepreneur. I was just a little hustler at this point. But what I would do there is I would say, anyone that wants to sell their car. So let's say, you want to sell your car. I'd ask you how much you'd want for your car. Okay. You told me $10,000, right? So I'd say, okay, perfect. And what I would do is, and I would say, I will get you $10,000 for your car. You won't have to pay me, the commission or anything. But what I would do, and I'd be, pretty upfront about this, is I would go and list that same car for, $13,000 or $14,000 on Craigslist and Auto Trader and things like that. So that way, that gave me room to negotiate my, my margin with the buyer, and the seller was happy because they got the amount of money, that they had wanted in the first place. And obviously I was happy because, even if I made, $1,000 off of it, $1,000 to an 8th, 9th grader, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to me now still. No, it was fun. And what really excited me was the fact that everyone could benefit from it. Because it was, I never once felt like I was doing something bad or sneaky or malicious, because I was very upfront, in that, look, I'm trying to make money here too, just as much as you are. But if I could figure out a solution to where everyone was happy, then, why not walk away with all parties happy? So kind of with that principle applied, when I was 16 years old, in between this duration, I started a charity as well, which, honestly ended up becoming extremely successful, but it was a strictly, for nonprofit charitable means. And, I'd never taken a simple dime from it. Even if, we had a board and they, kept telling me, Chad, you can take a salary, you can do that, because I would go out and raise lots of money, but I just didn't sit right with me. I always did that. But what it did teach me is so much about business and leadership and even marketing and fundraising and things like that I didn't even realize in the moment, but to this day, I apply those principles that I learned. And kind of how that started is we had our volunteer pool, of our members within the charity, and it got all the way up to 300 members that, I managed, and I had a board and things like that. And it was crazy because these were all volunteers, but on the same token, I was responsible for delegating tasks and creating missions. I was learning how to be a manager, and there was really no risk associated with it from any parties, because if anything, we were still raising money for charities at the end of the day. So it was, again, another win-win-win situation. And eventually I kind of got, when I was 16, I was like, okay, I do need to make a little bit of money because, I just got my driver's license, and pay for some gas and things like that. But I still was just totally against taking any money, whether it be salary or, anything, from, against the nonprofit mission, because like I said, I'm big in transparency. And when we went out and, talked to our donors, we told them exactly where their money was going. And that was kind of our big edge too, is that, you see a lot of these nonprofits that do incredible, amazing things, but their operating expense, their HR expenses and management expense, takes up a big chunk of that. So that, is what I was veering away from. And if that meant raising less money, that's what I would do. Anyways, got off on a little nonprofit tangent there.
No.
But I started, I became interested in private aviation. I wrote a list down of everything I'd be remotely interested in doing. And one of the things on that list was private aviation. And just, again, totally off the cuff, random. I mean, I had no experience. I was like, wow, that'd be cool to fly in a private jet because, just be cool because I'd never done it or really dreamed of doing it until, far in the future. And just reached out to all these people in Atlanta. And of course, 99 out of the 100 of them had said, oh, we like your ambition, but talk to us later, with the exception of one. And she was, to this day has been an incredible mentor of mine. Her name is Lisa Centers McDermott, and she was, the executive vice president with NetJet. So she had reported, to Warren Buffett, and knows him well. And she had started her own company eventually. So that was super cool. And, just the ability that, she was, I guess, impressed by the fact, my persistence, the fact that I just reached out and just asked. And, it took a little bit of negotiation and things like that. But, I kind of just started at the bottom doing administrative work and slowly, worked my way up. And then from there, started getting, learning more about tech and getting into tech and bouncing around and then doing stuff with e-commerce. And I got a little bit into crypto. And then now I'm, and I consulted for a little bit and, now on another startup. But sorry, that was the whole enchilada.
No, that's actually one heck of a story. And the biggest thing that pops up into my mind is when you started this, you were kind of like, I was just a kid. And you're like nothing separated me from any other kid because I was just a kid. But
right.
And obviously you're not more than just a kid now. What were some main things that separated you from every other kid? Because not everyone's doing what you're doing, and even in the entrepreneurial realm of youth, still not everyone's doing what you're doing or at the level you are at.
So there is a pretty, I guess, polarizing quote. Some people love it and some people hate it, and it is very cliche, but the second I read it, I was like, wait, that's basically my philosophy and I'm almost cringing saying this, but you've heard it. If you shoot to the stars, and you land amongst the clouds, you're still above the people that just jumped for the trees, and that just, it resonated so deeply with me. And that was, I didn't read that and just get inspired all of a sudden. That was just, I felt like the best way to sum it up because I'd read that, a couple months ago after the fact. I was like, wait, that's kind of just always my philosophy is I always, and this has had drawbacks obviously, but I think best scenario because it's all mindset and it's all outlook and it has to do with optimism. And it's like, okay, put myself in the best possible situation. Where could I be? Okay, there I am. How do I get there? And then you start putting together those rational steps. And even if they're not rational, I'm just trying because it literally comes out of those things. And if you have the ability, because that was, something that I really learned when I was in private aviation is because I was picking up the phone and cold calling these super, super important executives and, celebrities and billionaires and people. I was literally reading them, in Forbes. I'm like, oh, I should try to get in touch with this person and just be relentless. And I'd have all my little techniques to get across, around the secretary, and just get super crafty. But the fact that they could hang up on me and they could be, no, I don't want to, effing talk to you right now, now's a bad time. I didn't take it personally. That's just how it was. But it's totally a numbers game. And that's, another thing that I learned is if you make 100 phone calls, 90 people will probably tell you, leave me alone, don't call me again, which is fine. But 10 might still want to talk to you. 9 of those 10 will probably lead you on into a deal that doesn't happen, but one person will happen. And whether or not, that's always applicable, that's obviously not an exact formula, but just following that principle in every aspect of my life, I think is helped me tremendously.
Yeah, because at the simplest, it's kind of like what's the worst that can happen. And I know some things are really risky, but still, you're trying and you're actually doing something.
Exactly. And that was the biggest thing that I really try to pass the message on, to young people is that right now we don't have a lot of responsibilities. We don't have a mortgage and a family and, a full-time job and things like this. If we, because that was me, that I was, 15, 16 years old with literally like a piggy bank of quarters and pennies. I'm like, all right, I have $12.76. Like, I got to live off this. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, I knew I'd have a roof over my head and food to eat. And while I might not be able to go out and, like, you know, go to music festivals and things like that, you know, and spend disposable income the way that my friends that had worked, you know, part-time jobs working, you know, a set wage would, I was a little more willing to take a risk and lose it now and, you know, I guess benefit on the back end.
Yeah, but like, the thing is there's the huge difference between like even just the youth entrepreneurship and then regular kids is that like one group knows, one group figured it out at some point, and there's a huge massive group that hasn't, you know, got it. You know what I mean?
Right.
How did you start? When did it click? When did you really get it and understand what was happening?
You know, I really credit a lot of that to the charity that I seriously learned so many skills. And honestly, it stressed me out so much because, I mean, every single day I'd be worried sick about it. And I mean, on the same token, it was really great because, like I said, the only thing we had was to benefit, because it's like, you know, I was stressed out. Okay, are we going to get this donor? And if we didn't get the donor, we just didn't get the donor, you know, and then that means we just couldn't, you know, help more people, which obviously sucked, but no one was going to lose their job. No one was going to lose their home. No one wasn't going to be able to eat for the week. No one wasn't, you know, we weren't going to miss payroll. We weren't going to foreclose or go bankrupt, you know, because we didn't have those liabilities. So I think understanding that, being able to assess risk and also putting yourself in a position to do so. And really, you know, I guess to answer your question, when did I realize the ability to do that? I mean, I think I've always definitely been a little, like, I've always thought big, you know, and I think that's really all it came down to is if, you know, if there's a will, there's a way. And it really just comes down to how big your dreams are, because I think, you know, that's what it comes down to. And whether or not, you know, because you'll achieve it at scale.
Yeah, honestly, the thing I've been noticing the most is like, even though I've been bustling around and doing a bunch of things, originally, and even still now a little bit, I'm not a dreamer. Where are you going to be in the future? I don't know. Have you ever thought about it? No, you know, and you never really know. I don't think a lot of kids know, or they have the false idea of, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor. And I even talked to someone today where she was like, I was going to be a lawyer. Like, I wanted the law degree. And when I opened the congratulations, I felt a pit in my stomach. She's like, it was never really what I wanted. Right. And that's like and I feel like that's the biggest issue is like, there's this false sense of I have a set path, or it's like, I never even think farther than the next day.
I think I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's totally something that I had struggled with for a long time and really still am figuring out the answers to actively. But I kind of felt like, you know, I grew up in a family where college was big. You know, you're going to college, you're doing this, you're applying to, I applied to, I think it was like 17 different colleges. And got into, you know, a lot of good ones. I mean, there were, you know, some Ivies, and just good schools that I knew deep in my heart, you know, as great as that would have looked or would have sounded, I knew that I wouldn't have been happy. And even if I would have been on paper at the time more successful, whatever that, because again, you have to look at success on scale, I guess. And success to you means something totally different than it means to me. And to, you know, the person over there means totally different to your teacher, to your parent, to your, you know, your mentor. Success all means something different. You really have to listen to what it means to you, because I guarantee you, I mean, you just have to follow, as cliche as that sounds. And that's another thing I've learned is like,
they're cliche for a reason.
They're cliche for a reason. But honestly, like, follow your heart, because I've totally been there. And I thought, I was like, okay, I need to make a lot of money. So that's what I went out and that's what I did. But at the point where I had made, you know, a really good amount of money when I was so young, on this whole thing, you know, and I kind of leveraged that as a brain, you know, and this Teen Tech Millionaire thing. But yeah, I mean, it was the truth, you know, it absolutely was, you know, it was accurate. But on the same token, I was like, who am I doing this for? Because I had never been so miserable, so upset in my life. I mean, I theoretically, you know, could do whatever I wanted, or buy whatever I wanted. But there are things that you cannot buy. And I mean, it comes to, again, another cliche, money can't buy happiness. No, it buys you a lot. It does buy you a lot. It buys you freedom. It buys you, security, a lot of those things. But when it comes down to all of the people with it, and the experiences that you have, it really, the money's just an additional, it's benefit. You need the foundation first.
That was actually going to be one of my questions, because I feel like pretty well it's lonely at the top.
Yes.
And yeah, I have to ask, what was it like, especially being in school, not even just making the money, but simply having the different mindset?
Yeah, and it's definitely something, it took a lot on it, and it's still, to this day, it's because, I'm 20. I'm not sitting here and looking back 40, 50 years later, I remember when I was young, I still kind of am that age. And kind of, I guess, being looked at as this anomaly of sorts amongst your peers, it's because, I guess my little ambitions and hustles and things and successes really kind of came initially in high school. And people, took note of that, and people kind of they almost, it was very polarized in the sense that you had the group that was, there were three groups really. The small group that was really there for you, your ride or die, so to speak. And then you had the people that were there for you when you had money or power, influence or whatever. There were people there for you when they needed something, and they were always nice to your face, never had anything bad to say. And there were just the people that were just mean, and mean-spirited. Even if they didn't know you, never talked to you personally, just because of your, reputation, the fact that you had done XYZ, they already had this perception about you. In many times it's a false perception, because you're judged on these flimsy pretenses. But so, you have those three different buckets, so to speak. But it is kind of something, that's something that I guess going through high school, people, they just kind of have their friends and people that aren't their friends, and they might have people that they just don't like or don't get along with. But this, you kind of feel like there are a lot of eyes on you, and there are a lot of attention. In those three buckets respectively, you have the people that, your ride or dies, as I said, they want you to succeed no matter what. And and those are, they're far and in between, there's not a lot of them. And if you find one, person in that bucket, you hold on to them and you value them. And then you have your B people, in your B bucket. They're always nice to you. They encourage you when you're successful. And there are a lot of those people. There's a lot. And yeah, I'm not saying, blow them off, because, they do as much as you can with them. But on the same token, just take it with a grain of salt and know that they won't always be there. And, they're kind of hoping, ooh, I want him to get in this position so he can do this for me. But they don't care if you don't make it. And then on the latter part, you have the people that just want to see you fail. And sometimes, that's a big portion of people, depending on, where you're at and things like that. So it definitely adds a lot of pressure. So, it's I'm not going to sit here and tell anyone, it was easy or anything. And like I said, it really doesn't matter what the numbers in your bank account or, anything like that say. If there's no one to enjoy it with, it's not worth anything.
Yeah, no, and I totally understand that. I have a little column A, I have a little column B, I have a little column C too. And honestly, it's really interesting because for the people in your A bucket, number one, I love them to death. These people, it's insane. And honestly, I don't know if you've seen this too, but for me, it's people who are also already doing things. We all succeed together. We all fail together.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. And you see a trend there. The people, and that's something that you really need to take note of, is when you have these victories, who's standing up, clapping, cheering you on, and who's, kind of thinking, how can I undermine this? How can I, and gel and things. Even if oh wow, congratulations. And it's tough saying, but I totally have been in bucket B before. I've never been the person that just puts people down no matter what. But admittedly, especially, primarily, when I was younger, way back. But I've totally been that person that's okay, I'll smile, but what could I have done better? Why did they beat me to this? And it's a tough feeling, but I've totally realized over time, I've become more successful emotionally, financially, socially, whatever, if I'm on everyone, if I'm rooting them on, and those people that I'm rooting on, they'll root me back on, and we grow together, because success grows together. And these people in the B buckets, that's where you have, your even just, socioeconomic class, you have your high class, which is the very small, small, slim portion. And, you have a large part in your middle class. And then, you have your lower class, which is just, another portion. But there's a reason, and this obviously isn't a blanket statement because people, come into money for a variety of reasons, but for the independently wealthy individual, when it comes to, cash, and that doesn't, and again, I don't think that's the only indicator of success, but with those things in mind, these people, there's a reason why they're all friends with each other. It's because they encourage each other, and that's why money, stays in circles and doesn't, get penetrated, because it takes a mindset. And so I think if you're genuine and excited about everyone, then I think that's when you can look back at yourself and say, wow, I really have made it. If I can look at someone else and say, I'm truly happy for them, then I think that is point, it's a milestone in your success for sure.
And honestly, just the calm and the serenity it brings to your own soul.
So much.
That's what matters, I feel like.
Exactly. And that is a tremendous part, because that's a big thing that I see with young entrepreneurs, especially ones that, kind of experience success young, is that they'll be so stressed out. So then it turns to self-medication and things like that. And that just leads down a dangerous, scary path. But if you can find that serenity and peace within yourself, you can kind of, hedge your chances, and even relying on, those external calming methods that, that aren't healthy. So, yeah.
No, I totally agree. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, especially for young entrepreneurs. If you get that sense of helping everyone out, I feel like that's how you kind of got your way too, because also I noticed a common theme throughout your talking, you stuck to a moral ground.
Yes.
You really did. Can you, because again, because I've seen even when you're young, these people that get a little taste of power and they already go overboard. You've worked, and I don't even want to talk about the money, just everything you were doing. I don't feel like you do it arrogantly. we've been I chatted with you 2 days ago, and it was just a calm conversation. You weren't arrogant. You weren't I'm a name. You were just a friend. And how do you go about the humility and the morals and sticking to a strong foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that it really is a paradox that all young entrepreneurs face. And it's this paradox of having success soon, because you're definitely not at the point where you can sit back and go, whatever, I'm retired, I've made it. But you're also not, you are ahead of the curve. You don't want to undermine that. But on the same token, you're not where you want to be. So I've totally, and part of the reason why you got there, why any successful young entrepreneur gets there in the first place, is they do have a pretty strong ego, which, it might have gotten there in the first place, but in terms of the long run, definitely is a negative. But kind of the reason why they have that ego is because it has that self-confidence, because self-confident people are naturally just more successful. That's just how it is. I don't care what age you are. And if you're confident young, sometimes you can allow that to be transformed into this inflated ego, which I will absolutely admit, I totally struggled with for a little bit. But I guess what was important to me is that I always remained true to my morals. And and like I said, I never really coined myself to be this patron saint or anything like that. And because I definitely, I understand the perception that I give off. People assume, first of all, my name's Chad, and now the fact that I'm memeable. And I have this stereotypes just surrounding the fact that my name's Chad. People already associate me with something. And the fact that, if I'm wearing Brooks Brothers, and a nice watch and driving a nice car, oh my gosh, what's the label that gets put on me? Okay, wow, he's this, he's that, he didn't work for anything. It's stigmatized, obviously, but I understand that and I accept that. So I think if you just go out of the world without being defensive, but just being true and genuine, and honestly, let people think that. It is what people are going to think what they think. But if you let people get to know you, and you don't get distracted by, because you don't want to be turned bitter by, because, if I thought, oh wow, all these people just think I'm this, I'm just not to talk to anyone. If I did that, then those people would still think the same way. But if I talk to people, they'd be, oh wait, no, you're just a normal 20-year-old, like with, you're a real person. You've had trials, tribulations, and things like that. And of course, I think everyone has trials and tribulations on scale, but really don't forget, like, don't get, I don't even know how to say it, because it's like, I'm trying not to say like a cliche of don't forget where you came from, but that, I really can't even think of anything better. It's just, remember who you are. Like, remember, and that's why I always, it's almost like an alter ego, like for me personally, and it's kind of like an ongoing joke is like, my girlfriend, she'll ask me a question, oh, like how did, and just some sort, we'd be driving and she'll just ask me kind of a random, just out of curiosity, like, oh, how does this work or whatever. And I'm like, well, according to, this state, if we're looking at the P&Ls, and I'll talk like a 65-year-old, and she'll, kind of like laugh and like look at me. She's like, okay, can I get the answer from Chad, my 20-year-old boyfriend, not Mr. Chad P. Carrodus, title. So it's almost, kind of having these like alter egos, but also knowing when to turn them on and off. Because there are times where you are going to need like that boardroom professional, especially as a young person, because you can always go in like, shorts and t-shirt, like, hey bro, what's up, man? But there are times where that's more appropriate than, hello, sir, so good to meet you. It is a true honor, So I think being able to recognize that balance, and I think, we had talked about this when we were talking on the phone a little while ago, but I guess, that social and emotional intelligence, really, too, being able to gauge situations and execute them appropriately.
Oh, definitely. And honestly, that is a great note to end on. I'm so glad, because a lot of this audience is kids, and I'm so glad that they actually got to hear it from, I don't want to call you a kid, but you're a pretty young guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Chad, where can everyone find you?
Yes, to kind of go off what we were saying that we were joking about earlier is, and this is where the ego totally comes in, but it was my little tagline, like, there was a joke that, I have a t-shirt that, I got as like a gag gift that says Google me, because that used to be like my little saying that still kind of is, but because it totally started off as like, arrogantly, but now it's an ongoing joke because the fact that no one has the name Chad Carrodus. But if you really do Google, just CHAD space CARRODUS on Google. That way you can access my website, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and kind of follow what I'm up to. I would definitely love to reach out, and especially if you're a young entrepreneur or thinking about it and just have a question. I love talking with people and just brainstorming. So yeah.
That's amazing. Chad, thank you so much for being on.
No, thank you, Ava. It was a lot of fun.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that conversation. If you like what we're doing, please help us grow by sharing our content. And if you have any recommendation for future guests, please email me at agwetrick@gmail.com.